I used to walk the halls with my head down, pretending not to hear her cruel whispers behind me. She humiliated me, mocked me, and treated me like I didn't belong. But when I uncovered her biggest secret, that she was the one who didn't belong, I knew exactly what I had to do. This is the story of how I got my bully kicked out of the best school in the state, legally. If you've ever wished you could serve cold, calculated revenge on someone who tormented you, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready. Because what you're about to hear is one of the most satisfying paybacks you'll ever witness. And the best part, it was all perfectly legal. I always played by the rules, always kept my head down, always tried to be kind, even to people who didn't deserve it. But then came her. Let's call her Ashley. Ashley was one of those girls who somehow got under everyone's skin, but always managed to come out looking like the victim. She'd whisper the meanest things behind your back, sabotage your group projects, then cry to the teacher when you finally snapped. She made my freshman and sophomore years absolute hell. And her sister? Just as bad. A tag-along clone who copied every toxic trait Ashley had perfected. Together, they made life unbearable for anyone they saw as beneath them, which, of course, included me. But the irony? I didn't just know them from school. I'd actually been to their house once, a long time ago, back when I was still naive enough to think we could be friends. My dad had driven me over, and I remember him saying something that stuck in my brain for years. Wait, how are they going to your school? That neighborhood's definitely not in our district. He was right. See, my school isn't just good, it's elite. Top-rated in the entire state. It's where parents fight over houses, just for a chance to get their kids in. The kind of place where property taxes are sky-high, because they fund the school. So if you don't live in the district, you don't go. Period. Unless you cheat. At the time, I brushed it off. Maybe their parents were renting a second home in the district. Maybe they moved. I didn't want to believe anything shady. But after the way Ashley treated me, mocking my clothes, spreading lies, calling me district trash, like she was royalty, that old memory started to itch in the back of my mind. I wanted to know the truth. So, I did something I never thought I would. I started digging. The investigation. I started simple. Googled her name. Found her mom's name. Plugged them into one of those public records sites. Boom. There it was. An address, the same one I remembered from that visit. Definitely not in the district. Then I found another address listed, one just inside district lines. A one-bedroom apartment owned by her aunt. Things started to click. She wasn't living in the district. She was using a relative's address to cheat the system. The more I dug, the angrier I got. Because this wasn't just some harmless little fib. This was theft. My family paid through the nose in property taxes. We made sacrifices. We stayed in a tiny house we could barely afford, just so I could attend a school that gave me a real shot at college. And she, this mean girl who treated everyone like garbage, she just skirted the rules? No, not on my watch. The final straw came during junior year finals. Ashley publicly accused me of cheating me. She told our history teacher I was copying off her test. Luckily, the teacher didn't believe her. I'd studied for weeks, and my test was full of completely different answers. But it was humiliating. After class, I confronted her. And that's when she slipped. Whatever, she smirked. Your little house can't even afford internet, and you think you're better than me? Then she laughed and said, at least my parents were smart enough to lie about our address and get us into a real school. She said it. She admitted it. I waited until summer, when things are quieter, when the admin office is more likely to read emails without distractions. I drafted a message to the director of student services. Calm, polite, just a concerned student, wondering how district eligibility is verified, because I'd heard of multiple students possibly attending while living outside the district. I didn't name names. Not yet. I wanted to gauge their response first. And I got one. They thanked me for my message and said that they take residency fraud very seriously, that they would be investigating. Perfect. Now came the final step. I replied with all the details, names, addresses, timelines. I even attached screenshots from the public records sites showing their primary residence outside the district. I also mentioned, delicately, that I was concerned about fairness, especially when my family worked so hard to follow the rules. When school started back up, Ashley and her sister weren't there. I didn't want to assume anything. Maybe they were sick. Maybe they transferred. So I waited. A week passed. Then two. By the end of September, Their names were officially removed from the student roster. Gone. Rumors started flying. Some said they'd moved out of state. Others said they were kicked out. One friend swore she saw them crying in the parking lot, their mom yelling at someone on the phone. I don't know the full story. I don't care. What I do know is that they're no longer stealing a seat at the table my family paid for. I'll never forget the moment I saw her old locker. Empty. No photos. No books. Just silence. That silence was the loudest justice I've ever heard. It wasn't just revenge. It was closure. I didn't just stand up for myself. I stood up for every kid who ever got stepped on by someone who thought they could cheat the system and still win. Not this time. Some people think revenge is petty. But this wasn't about being petty. It was about fairness. About restoring balance. Because when you weaponize lies to rise above others, don't be shocked when the truth comes crashing down. If this story gave you chills,